welcome. I'm Dan Roshan, and I am joined today by two beautiful people. I'll tell you about them in a second. And I want to first tell you about what we're going to talk about, which is connecting with others at a high and authentic level, which is something that I believe right now is really vitally important for all of us to do. And so I invited my friends, Irit Horn and Taylor Sherman. Hello, Irit. Hello, Taylor. And I'll ask you who you are here in just a moment, but who you are to me are mentors of mine that have taught me some of the, really, I would say, just the way to be able to understand and listen and actively listen to others, and to understand that our lives are a subjective experience. And you've taught me so much. So I want to learn it, so I'll let you introduce each of you, or ask for each of you to introduce each of yourselves, and then we'll jump into a meaningful conversation today. So Taylor, would you like to start? Who are you? And
Sure.
what do you do?
I'm Taylor. So part of, what I do is really work with people, coach them to achieve the results they'd like in their lives. And so, that varies from people who have, various types of, coaching type of issues, things they'd like to overcome, people who'd like to stop smoking or lose weight or get over a fear or, something like that. But it's also people who would like to achieve the higher levels of performance in their lives, who would like to be able to level up their game, to move into those new levels where they can say, well, this is what I was yesterday, and here I am today, and this is what I'm becoming. And to facilitate that, the different methods that I'm using are, number one, hypnosis. So hypnosis is a big thing that, we do in our offices. And then also NLP. And we're going to be talking a little bit about NLP and kind of what that's like in neuro-linguistics. And we'll get into that, all of that kind of stuff a little bit later on. But yeah, that's kind of who I am. I've been doing it now for, oh my, I don't want to count the years, but probably 13, 14, something like that years. It's been a good
Yeah,
ride.
long time.
Thank you, Taylor. Irit, introduce yourself, please.
So Taylor and I own the Washington, D.C. Hypnosis Center. We have a couple of offices in the area, in Virginia and in Rockville, Maryland, where we do work with individuals as well as with groups. If it's individual sessions, then to help people to achieve their goals, whatever they may be, positive or to remove blockages that may stop them to be who they really want to be in this life. And the other thing is we've trained people just like you, students that come in that wants to learn what we're doing and how we do what we do to help others or to help themselves. So this is a phenomenal, area that, this is something that you're not taught in school at all. How to be the best of you. And some people, make it a goal for themselves at some point in their life. I'm going to achieve, I'm going to work on myself and, self-empowerment. Some people never learn that. So what we do basically is teach them, whether it's through NLP or hypnosis or other classes that we offer, is to put the focus on themselves. Not just themselves, but anyone around them, how to relate and communicate with others in a better way to create the connection, the success that they want.
Thank you, Irit. So I heard both of you, I heard you share the term NLP.
Yes.
Irit, what is NLP?
I'll let Taylor answer that.
Taylor, what is NLP?
Well, NLP is a lot of things to a lot of people.
You want to give the person who knows the most, yeah.
If we really want to break it down, right? So NLP, the original way that it started in the 1970s by two people, Richard Bandler, John Grender at the University of California, Santa Cruz. And basically what this whole thing became about is they wanted to find out what makes excellent people excellent. What is the difference that makes the difference? What is it that makes the people who are really good at certain domains in life do what they're doing so well? And mainly who they were studying at the time were therapists, hypnotherapists. They were studying those who were really doing patterns well. But because NLP was not limited to that scope, then they went on to study other things. So there's been some research in NLP, for example, in terms of sales, in terms of parenting, music. There's just so many domains across which you can do it. And so NLP, the first rendition of it, is really three parts, right? There's neuro, and then there's linguistic, and then there's programming. And so neuro having to do with the brain and the neurology, linguistic having to do with the structure and use of language, and then programming about how systems of behavior are organized to lead us to results that we want in our lives. And some of those results are things that we, want to have happen. Others are things that have happened because there are habits, that we've had that have been running in the background. And so that's, a lot of the technical stuff. Really, we call it the study of subjective experience. And it's about what is it that when we look into the experience that a person is having on a moment to moment basis, what is it about that experience that we can break down and be able to notice what is it that they are experiencing right at that moment? And so, one of the things we'll talk about here today in terms of NLP is the idea and development of creating and developing rapport, which tends to facilitate all of the different techniques and methods that we do.
Thank you, Taylor. So what I heard you say is this is essentially is the study of subjective experience. Is that right?
That's one definition.
It's one definition. Yeah. And so, why NLP? What got you into NLP? What got you to what? Do you recall the first time that you got interested in NLP? A first class or a first acknowledgement of? Do you remember?
There's a joke behind it. For the longest time, I didn't want to learn per se how to do what I do naturally. So through Taylor, went to. He was very big on NLP, and for the longest time, he convinced me to actually sit down and study it. Or there'll be a question of, he would ask me, how did you do that? How do you do this? Even, we had a discussion last night. He goes, just do what you do, and I will explain what you're doing in a technical matter. So Taylor is the technical guy who can break any, anything that I do or anyone else can do. As a matter of fact, people do call him to create courses and classes for them because he knows how to structure everything. So he will take what, a person does very well and basically break it to different stages. So it's going to be, in a way, for someone else to be able to learn it, so that's why I said when you talk about NLP, you want to talk to Taylor because he's the one who convinced me to go into the field. I don't myself. I'm not crazy about the technical stuff, even though you need to learn the technical stuff to know how to do it. But it was mainly Taylor that convinced me to do it. And it's not that I haven't done NLP in my work. It's just to learn the technical stuff, like to learn exactly how to teach it, to explain to clients how to do it. It's a fascinating world.
So what I understand you saying, or at least what I observe you saying, is that Taylor is more of like the mechanic that can open up the car and tell you how every single component of that car operates.
Yes.
And you're the race car driver.
Yeah. And he can tell me how I do it.
Fair enough. So yeah. Taylor, so
doesn't mean he's not the race car driver either. So I mean, yeah. I think he has the ability to do both. Like,
sure.
And
yeah,
race driver, he can also break it into a way to teach other people or to explain how you did what you did that you don't know what you're doing, or you do know, or you maybe some people have it naturally, they just feel it.
Yeah.
Okay? But some people actually need to be taught. So we're going to the we call NLP the science of excellence. Okay, they went and they actually looked into how successful people doing what they're doing. Okay, is there a way to teach a person who is not successful to become successful? What are the ingredients to make that wonderful, amazing cake that is always going to come an amazing cake? All right. And by studying those people that are excellent, that are successful, they came out with this, with this teaching. So Um, is there a certain techniques in mythology? Yes, of course there is. It's like we were talking here about connections and how to connect to people. Sometimes when you look at successful people, and that's something that relate to your area, could you say that every successful people is a charismatic person?
I think that not necessarily, yet I think a charisma is a behavior that can serve you well.
Okay, and would a charismatic person would be a successful one?
No, not necessarily.
All right. So when you're looking into those successful people, a lot of them do have that, what we call the je ne sais quoi, that excel, one more thing that they have that, we don't, or you don't, or I don't know, someone else don't, and they want to have that. And that factor is, that the feel good factor. You know what I mean? It's like they always feel good. There's always a feeling like you want to be around them, or they feel good about certain things. And they get it. They get something that other people don't get. They are able to connect with others through that feel good feeling. Right. So, is this something that we can teach people? Right. To create success in their life, to attract success in their life. And that's something that we teach. This is something that we teach people how to do. All right.
So, it's an interesting thing here when we talk about, okay, breaking it down versus actually thinking about it, because really it comes to this whole idea of unconscious competence and being able to do something naturally, being able to do something easily. And it's like, Dan, in your world, it may be real estate agents, right? There's just some people who you just put them out there and it's like, boom, they immediately know what to do. They're just naturals at it. Okay. But then, for those people, let's say if you were to then, um, have them start to think about what they're doing and that type of thing, it might actually get in their way. And so we start to realize that for a lot of people, being able to just relax and do things naturally, well, it has its pros and cons, because in a lot of ways, like the current situation that we're in now, in the world, that, well, on the one hand, people were, let's say, relaxing and going about their lives naturally, and they felt that things were working really well for them. And now when everything starts to, all the external sources start of, control and safety and security start to get pulled away from them, all of a sudden they automatically do the opposite. And so, even though they would like to be able to do something differently, they don't know how to do it because it's simply an automatic behavior. And so, one of the things that we do with NLP and with hypnosis is being able to help to go in to reconfigure those gears, to go back to your mechanic analogy here, to be able to change the way the whole machine is working or just the way that the person is perceiving the world. And then to play it forward, to have them move back into their lives, but this time being calm, this time moving through life in a way where they actually can be able to breathe, be able to get that inspiration, that creativity, that spark of energy that just naturally flows as they're, moving onward or forward. So, it's, even as we just start here to talk about this idea of NLP and what it all is, as, I hope everyone watching can really, get this idea. We can talk about what it is, but it's kind of like if I were to describe to you vanilla ice cream and you had never had vanilla ice cream before. And I say, it's a little bit like this and it's a little bit like that. And you go, oh, I think I understand. But then you taste vanilla ice cream and the experience is so much more than, what it is that you said about it.
Taylor, what's a word of advice that you can give for those that are watching today that may be afraid, uncertain, lonely, concerned, that are having some feelings of anxiety? What would be a perspective that they could choose to look at where we are right now that could be healthier? or serve them better? What are your thoughts in regards to that?
Yeah. So I think, first of all, the perspective that I've been taking with people recently has been around time. So, you'll notice that politicians again and again are talking about that they use this word, this moment. So they say, in this moment, this is happening. In this moment, this is going on. And in one way, what this does, functionally, is that it actually puts people and focuses them on kind of what's happening now. But what about what's happening now? Is it the news? Is it about, all of the chaos that's going on? But being able to realize that, there was a time back before all of this started in which you were perfectly good and you were perfectly fine, right? Things might not have been the best that you ever wanted them to be, but you had a sense of safety and security in your life, and that was, a good thing. If you feel like you've lost it at all, okay? There will be a time after all of this has finished at which you're going to know that you've gotten through it, at which you're going to be able then to step into that moment, to look back and to see all of the choices that you made during that time. Okay. And so being able to have that perspective shift to realize that, what, yeah, it's a little bit scary right in this moment, but actually, there's so many things that go on beyond that. If we can really kind of expand out our awareness of experience in terms of our awareness of what was happening, you know, uh, 10 years ago, or, 10 years from now, is it still going to be an issue? So it comes from that book, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, and it's all small stuff. And one of the questions that I always liked from that book was, they said, the question is it going to matter a year from now? So whatever it is this going to matter a year from now? And if the answer is still, yes, it's, well, is this going to matter 100 years from now? And so being able to really, change your perspective on how you're looking at that. I think there's some practical things that people can do. I think that having some compassion, for themselves and for others, self-compassion is a really big um aspect of psychology that's grown in recent years, right? Talking about how people can start to acknowledge that the experience they have, that they're going through, is kind of a universal experience, that a lot of people are going through the same experience. We're all in this together. Okay, that's a really important, even though you may not be physically close or next to another person, it's really important to realize we're all in this together. And pretty much the whole world is going through a similar type of experience. And so it gives us the ability to really step apart from that, to relax, to become calm. But then also to notice, what are you doing with your body? Okay. Because, if we think about the experience that some people are having right now, it's they're stuck at home, they're not moving a lot because the gyms have been closed down. All of a sudden they say, well, if there was a gym, I would go to it. But the gyms have been closed down. Some of the parks have been closed down. They can't go to the parks. Maybe they're not eating as healthy as they otherwise would. Maybe their circadian rhythms are starting to get messed up because they're going to sleep and, at weird times and waking up at weird times. Starting to notice, what are the things they can do within their body to relax. So, a couple of quick things that they can do are, number one, loosen and relax the jaw. So, as you start to, yeah, well, just letting it hang, right? Just letting it kind of relax and become calm there, letting it sag with the weight of breath. And as you relax the jaw, I'm going to get a little bit, technical here with this all. When you relax the jaw, you stimulate the vagus nerve in the body. The vagus nerve is the 12th cranial nerve, runs from the center of your head, kind of branches down here all the way throughout your body, activates the what's called the parasympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic nervous system allows you to go into rest and digest versus fight or flight. So fight and flight is the enemy of uh, being able to innovate, being able to be creative, feeling safe. It's what stops us from being able, well, for one thing, it lowers our immune response. Okay, can we start with that? It's like panicking is not a good idea, all right, just in general, because it makes people, not as healthy as they could be. And so one of the things you can do, relaxing the jaw, is a nice little kind of hack that you can do to just begin to lower the stress down a little bit more and begin to allow yourself to become a little bit calmer. So that's one thing that people can start to do, just in, starting to slow down the breathing, things like that, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Being able to do these types of things as a practice, even if it's only for 3 to 5 minutes a day, just make it really absurdly, like, I can do this for 3 minutes, like, no big deal. And having that consistency is really going to assist them.
You already know 87% of all real estate agents fail in this business. And you also know it doesn't have to be that way. If you're a real estate agent and you're looking for consistent and predictable income, I invite for you to get your free copy of Real Estate Evolution, the 10-step guide to CPI, consistent and predictable income for real estate agents. And you can do so when you visit www.therealestateevolution.com. I'll share with you your book that I authored to show you the way. And it's free. You just have to pay for the shipping. Thanks.
Thanks for those pointers. So the breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, and allowing for your jaw to become slack, are two techniques that are actionable things that somebody could do right now.
Totally. Yeah.
Let's talk about like communicating with others, right? Because that's something that I think first we're communicating with ourselves.
Yeah.
And secondly, we're communicating with the world or with others as well. And so we're in a situation right now where, and my belief is that it would definitely benefit us to be more connected, and more connected spiritually, and more connected in a manner that we're authentic and empathetic and available. And so something that you've taught me, both of you, Taylor and Irit, is about rapport. Mm-hmm. And a tool that I've used myself is to be able to use rapport to achieve at least a higher level of that connection. So tell us, what is rapport, and how do you get into rapport? And how do you know when you're in rapport?
So who are you asking?
Well, Irit, let's hear from you.
Please go.
It's okay. I'm going to answer. I'm going to go back to your the question you asked, Taylor, about stress. Stress is the number one thing that people do come to our office to work on, whether it's anxiety or panic attacks, from all sorts of reasons. And we always say to people, nobody knocks on the door and say, hey, would you like 2 buckets of stress? Right? Stress is not, given to you, by the loads. It's the way we process life, the way we see life, and the way we circulate it through our minds. So basically what we do is we teach people how they do what they do that they don't like doing. So how do you create stress in the first place? So going back to your, to this question you just asked me about rapport, and it's related to the question you asked, Taylor, is basically, what is the one thing that we can do to create rapport? And you'll be quite shocked to notice, or to be aware, is how little people are smiling, right? I mean, how do you release your stress? Well, just try to do a fake smile just now. Just go ahead and, smile. And all of a sudden endorphins are coming to the body, right? For some people, it's going to be like, oh, I haven't smiled for days now with all these things that are happening on the TV and news and this and that. I can leave my house. My freedom is taken away. I don't see any hope. But try to smile, even if it's a fake smile. And, with the sentence we say to everybody, fake it until you make it. The mind doesn't know the difference between, a real smile or a fake smile. It will still, create the same endorphins in the body. And and if you want to take it, one step further, smile and start giggle. Ha 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 ha. And guess what? A real laugh will come right after. So a smile is another way that we can communicate with people. I can't say that, you're going to lose a sale if you don't smile, But I can say that if you smile, you can create better rapport with another. Smile says a whole lot of things to people. When you smile to them, it's like greeting, it's like understanding, it's like warmness. You don't want to smile too much, but you definitely don't want to smile too little. So smiling goes a long way here, okay, to lifting another person's spirit, giving them the permission to smile again. It is contagious and it's a feel good feeling. And this is what we're talking about earlier about successful people. Successful people make other people feel good, they know how to do it. All right. And when you make another person, whether it's a client or a colleague, feel good, they feel good not just about themselves, but about you as well. Therefore, you are creating a great rapport. All right.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. So smile,
Mhm.
make others feel good,
Yeah.
and through that process, you'll be in rapport, or that's a way
Yeah,
to.
and it always starts with you first. I mean, don't start smiling when you see your client. All right, just do this exercise in the car several times. Just go ahead and watch something that makes you feel good. Go ahead and fake the smile and fake the laughter just a little bit to what I call raise your vibration. All right, raise your energy just a little bit. So when you walk in, your vibration, your energy is already sending that good vibe out. All right, that good feeling guy. All right, go ahead. I just dropped a plate here.
What, Taylor? Tell us about rapport. What is rapport? How would you define rapport, and how would I know, or how would you know when you're in rapport?
Hmm. Oh, well, that's multiple ways, right? So rapport, when we talk about rapport, okay, it's a process of responsiveness, okay, not necessarily liking the other person, but it's an ability to respond to each other, right? An ability to connect, with each other in that way. And so rapport is going to be established by allowing a person to feel that we are the same. Okay. Allowing a person to feel at multiple levels. Okay. And, it's not just at the level of, so some of the levels might be, for example, at body language, it could be at vocal qualities, it could be, as Irit is talking about, in terms of the smiling.
Eye
And, we
contact.
both have that ability to kind of go into that lightness or that levity. And, but it's also about common experiences. It's also about at its core, a sense of safety. And I'll talk about that in, a little bit, in just a second. But how do you know that you're in rapport? Well, I think the best way to know is really you feel it within your body. Okay. You can look at the other person and go, oh, well, they look like they're in rapport with me. But then at that moment, you've already started thinking and talking to yourself inside of your head, which tends to break rapport, right? As soon as you're going inside of yourself, making up a story about whatever the external world is, that tends to, break rapport a little bit with the person in which you're talking with. And so, as you are relaxing and as you are allowing yourself to notice, what does it feel like in your body? And so, think about it like this. So, for anyone listening, you can think about it in terms of if you've had a sense of really being close or connected with a person, just think about it like in a context. Okay. So if the context is a business context, then think about it in a business context. If it's, friendship, then it's friendship. If it's relationship, then okay. So think about it in that specific context. And when you have had in the past that sort of connection with someone, however slight, how did it feel like inside of you? What did you notice inside of yourself when you had that? And that's like a little, checkbox for you, or that's a sense that you can start to pay attention to within yourself of, yes, I have that sense of connection. I have that sense of being in rapport with them, being in that being in that place of we are like each other. Okay. And really the core of it, okay, the core of all of this, because we're going to talk a little bit about language and how to use language and how do you, start to talk about all of this. It all starts with being able to create rapport. Okay. And being able to create rapport starts with, at the very least, a sense of it's safe to interact with another person. So under times of stress, okay, like the times in which we're going through right now, what happens is that people's definition of their circle starts to narrow. So in other words, they might have considered people, in their circle, acquaintances, people they could easily talk to. Now it starts to get tighter. How much is going to depend on the person, but everyone who is under stress is going to have it start to narrow. And so, and then, they may become closer with the people who are, inside of that. So, what we need to really recognize in terms of rapport, in terms of this time, is that it absolutely starts with creating that sense of safety and trust with the other person. Okay. Which, like, okay, how do you create safety? Well, you do things like relaxing, you do things like, maybe it's not standing too close to them, right now. Okay. If it is over video, it's being able to, not necessarily directly go against, the types of things in which they are saying. It's being able to follow, with them, and it's being able to really match where it is that they are. And this is going to help a person to feel at ease. It's going to help them to feel relaxed. It's going to get them into the place where they can really then have even the possibility. See, this is hardwired. This is what everyone has to understand. This is not a choice, right? This is hardwired, right? Like our brain makes the decision and then afterward we explain it. And when it comes to things like what we're going through, right now, it's, you know, people don't have a choice with all of this, which means that we need to assist them through our behavior and through our actions at being able to feel more comfortable, to feel more safe, to feel at ease, so that the good stuff, the better stuff that's kind of like, beyond just feeling safe, can even have a chance to emerge And, part of that might just be helping them to feel a little bit more at ease than they have been feeling.
So feel more comfortable, feel more at ease.
Now,
that's what I heard you say.
Yeah.
There is a question here from one of the viewers. Do you want to answer? We can answer that.
Yeah. So when the news, when it's bombarding you with fear and, what should our self-talk be and how do we keep smiling? And it's, he's sharing that Nilesh is sharing that it's been difficult lately. So what do you say to that?
So hi, Nilesh. So thanks for the question. So you notice how even the question is being, formatted. There's already an understanding that it's been bombarded. All right. So when something or someone is bombarding you, automatically you'll know what to do. Right. I mean, would you allow a person to bombard you or a situation to bombard you and you just stay still? No. When there's already a feeling, there's a lack of connection here with self. This is something that my opinion, when you notice that something is bombarding you, you don't stay still. You do something to protect yourself. Turn the TV off. All right. Understanding that the media is there to create ratings. Okay. As long as you're going to be watching, guess what? They're getting the ratings. They're getting their money. All right. And when you're not going to hear a whole lot of great news from the media, you're not. All right. Because if you will, no one is going to be watching. So their job is to plant fear. And when they plant fear, basically what they do is create, emptiness. They create a lack inside of us. And when there is a lack or an emptiness, the mind, very quickly wants to fill this up, and it will fill it up with consumption. So you're either going to consume a whole lot of food, or going to find yourself going to the grocery stores to buy 10,000 toilet papers that you may not need, or, you're going to eat food because, they created this void inside of you, and the mind doesn't like void. All right. It's trained to bring you back to balance. So you're going to be consuming a whole lot. So understanding this, there is a dance here. There's fear planted inside of you. You're going to go and consume. What do? The way to deal with fear is, the other way to deal with fear is, there's a saying, feel the fear and go through it. All right. Just feel it and go through it. Don't just say I'm fearful. Okay. What am I afraid of? So be connected with yourself. What am I exactly afraid of? And then the other way to heal fear is basically being grateful. How are you being grateful for? How is this whole situation? I see Corona as a blessing in disguise. I mean, people hate me when I say that, but I really see it as a blessing in disguise. Yes, we're losing business. Well, we're gaining a whole lot of other things. I mean, we would never do that online with you if it wasn't for Corona. All right. I'm not really, loving being online or loving being in front of a camera, but I'm doing it. Why? Because Dan suggested. Why? Because I committed. Why? Because it's a great idea. And if it wasn't Corona, I would postpone it again and again and again, like I have been for the past 3 years. So there's other things that
Sorry,
are
Dan.
great. People are, it's true, right? So people are connecting more on a different level. So now it's the internet, now it's live, live shows. More information is being given to others through live shows. The other thing would be, my kids are home. This is phenomenal. I mean, for now, it's great. They're all young adults. When was the last time we really had a great dinner, like, together? This week, we had dinner and lunches every single day that's together, and it's wonderful. All right. They're probably sick and tired of me by now, but I enjoy every second. All right. So there is a blessing here. People have to reinvent themselves, right? They have a time to reinvent themselves. They're thinking about imagination and creativity. That's a wonderful thing, all right? And if you are on the go, 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 and doing your own thing and your own routine and your own goals, all of a sudden life says, pause, stop for a second, reflect, look inside. And I see it as a blessing. I think it's a spiritual thing, and it's in a way wonderful. No, it's not wonderful that people are dying, but not all people are dying. All right. There are a lot of people who are healing, but we don't hear about them. Why? Because the media is there to count the dead, not the people who healed. Why? Because then we're going to be watching them. All right.
So
profound, Irit, about taking even in a challenging circumstance or a circumstance that could be challenging, could be viewed upon as challenging, choosing to look at the goodness of, I get to have lunch with my adult children that I haven't done in years.
And all my other hobbies that I've neglected, now I'm bringing them back. They've been in boxes. So
and now I know the way. Now I know the way to get you to say yes. I just need a pandemic.
Yes. I'm on a yes mode now. Everything I'm saying yes. I decided this week. Everything is a yes.
All right.
Mark Taylor.
So
go ahead.
Let me just kind of dovetail off of that for just a second. So the first thing is that news shows and social media posts, I mean, they're popular for a reason. It's designed. They're designed by people who are pretty smart, knowing exactly what they're doing to get you to keep clicking, because news thrives on ratings and they need for you to keep watching it. And so, when you have something that's bad, well, the thing is to keep amping it up, to keep sensationalizing it. And so, when you think about, okay, well, I'm going to sit there, if someone's going to sit there for hours and, bombard themselves with, messages from their well-designed, messages that are meant to scare you, meant to hype you up. And then if you think after that, you're going to be able to talk yourself out of it just with some self-talk, that's not going to work. And I don't mean to be, negative about it. It's just, you're trying to go against a very primal part of you. Okay. And so what you need to do is to proactively relax yourself, proactively find reframes, different ways of looking at the world, different ways of considering things, proactively finding ways to relax yourself, like the relaxing the jaw and the breathing that I was, talking about, looking for those positive things and being able to take control of your own experience in life. And so for some people, this is what this is all about. It's like, can you actually start to, drive your own mind versus having your mind being driven or, having everyone tell you what you need to be thinking and doing at that time. Like right now is the time to dismiss with all of that It's time for you to start to step up to the plate, to say, it is time for me to bring in some relaxation, not because the experiences are relaxing. Like, oh, well, and if I'm in a good movie or I'm with friends or I'm seeing a wonderful sunset, that's relaxing. And then, suddenly if I take all of that away, oh, I can't get to relaxation anymore. But that's just an illusion, because the restaurant or the movie or even the weather never actually caused relaxation, right? And this is getting to something that we talk about a lot in the trainings, which is that perspective is an outside in perspective. The outside causes my inner experience, and what we believe in is inside out, right? You shift your experience of life, and life flows from that, right? It flows from that. And so that's what I would say is really just, kind of work on getting yourself into more and more of a calm and relaxed state, and looking for the positive, just like the type of ideas that Irit is given here. And
Now, Taylor, you mentioned the word reframing.
yeah.
Tell us more about that, if you could. What's the definition, from a perspective of, I know the way that you, explain it. How would you explain that to me?
I recently wrote the book, Real Estate Evolution, the 10-Step Guide to CPI, Consistent and Predictable Income for Real Estate Agents. I wrote this book because I have sold real estate since 2007 and developed an immense amount of experience and knowledge. During my journey, I've witnessed hundreds and maybe even thousands of real estate agents fail in this business, and I firmly believe that that's a shame. In Real Estate Evolution, I will show you the exact steps that I have used as a real estate salesperson to sell 1 to 15 homes every single month for the past 129 consecutive months. It took me more than 2 decades to learn the sales and persuasion techniques, and more than 1 decade to master the real estate sales techniques to be able to produce the content that makes up this book. It took me more than a year to write at a pace of 3 hours every single day. If you're a real estate agent and you're looking for consistent and predictable income in your business, I invite you to get the book, Real Estate Evolution, and you can get that by visiting www.therealestateevolution.com, and I'll even give it to you for free as long as you pay for the postage.
So whenever we're talking about a topic, there's always a way in which it is framed, and a frame is what is the context, what are the set of understandings, what is the background that we are assuming based on the discussion. So if you think about a frame, like you can go and get like a really cheap, Walmart, picture frame type of thing, or you can get a really nicely designed, frame that you may, have spent hundreds or even thousands of dollars on really creating. And somehow that nicer frame, it's the same picture, right? The same picture that's in the frame, but somehow that nicer frame makes it appear a little bit more regal or grand, or it, brings us an aspect of the experience that helps us to think about things in a different way, in a more calm way. And so any experience that we can have, we can view it from different perspectives. It's kind of like people are saying, well, here's something about this, and then someone else says, yeah, but what about that? And when you consider that what about that, that's the part where it is, oh, wait, I never thought about it like that. I never considered it in that way. So someone might, another person listening to this might be, sitting there saying, yeah, my kids are driving me crazy. I really liked having them there for the first 1 or 2 days. And then they hear Irit and she's saying, I really haven't. And so now they have a different frame on their experience where they can say it's kind of an invitation to step into that and to think about things in a different way. And so framing is a really core thing within communication. It's a core thing within persuasive devices or techniques. How is it that we frame things? So if the framing, for example, of the situation that we're going through is it's a disaster, a lot of people are going to die, we have an inept government that isn't taking care of us, we are basically completely screwed, and soon it's like someone had told me recently, they said their friend had started coughing and they started to think in their mind, uh-oh, I'm really worried because now my friend's going to die. Like that's a frame. That's a frame. That's a kind of idea, that's catastrophizing, right? They call it in cognitive therapy. It's being able to frame things in that sort of way. But what if the frame is, hey, now it's time for you to really go inside. It's time for you to start to use this time as personal growth and development. And looking back upon this is going to be the time where everyone is going to look back and say, that was the best time to build your business. That was the best time to work and improve on yourself. That was the best time to count your blessings and to remember what was really important in life. Did you miss it? They might say after all of this is over. So that's a different frame. Okay. It's a different way of viewing a similar thing. That's kind of how framing works.
The best time to develop your relationship with your spouse, with your children,
That's right.
with yourself. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what types of, so I want to give some people some like some tangible techniques or strategies or understandings of an NLP. So we talked about framing, and we talked about rapport. What's one other useful NLP presupposition or strategy or however you think would be most useful that somebody could put into action and benefit them today?
Well, I think one other aspect of NLP that we could talk about is the idea of positions. So it's what's called perceptual positions. It's being able to see the world through multiple different lenses. And basically, we have, so one of the things is that I've talked about NLP, but there's, the field didn't stop in the 1970s, right? It's continued to grow and develop, and there's other things that have happened. So the way that I talk about NLP a lot of times is what's called HNLP, which is humanistic neuro-linguistic psychology. And what this is really talking about, we really add on to another position here. So the perceptual positions, we call them within NLP, that we talk about are, number one, I can view the world as though looking through the lens of myself. What am I valuing? What am I believing? What am I seeing? I can look out of my eyes and know, okay, what's important to me? I could also float into the other person and have an experience of what it's like to live life through their viewpoint, through their reality, to walk a mile in another person's moccasins. I could then also be able to step out of all of that and just kind of observe what is happening. Right? It's like, I'm just going to observe what is going on. I'm not going to be attached to any of it. I'm just going to kind of observe. And then we can also step out of that, become even more broad, and notice the interconnection between all things. It's what we call the omni position. Being able to notice the blending between self, between other, and the observer, and the interconnection between all of it. As you can start to notice that space in between, and you can become aware of how, even though there is space, that space connects all of us. And, just like a wave at one part of the ocean may affect the tide halfway across the other world, one of the most important things we're learning here is we're all connected. And so being able to see the world through multiple perceptual positions is another really core thing that a person can get, from this, from NLP. And there's just so much, more to say about it. It's a big field. I'm just kind of sprinkling in some things here so that people can start to, right from today, start to think about their world a little bit differently and maybe just become curious. Become curious for yourself about what are those new possibilities, because we can talk here about uncertainty. We're filled with that. It's chaos, it's uncertainty. We do not know what tomorrow is going to bring. We do not know what the next news is going to be, or, we can talk about that. And when we think about it like that, it kind of brings us into a place of, whoa, ugh, I kind of want to freeze because I'm afraid of this future based thing. Anxiety is always in the future. It's always reflecting upon the future. It's not present. It's not past. It's future based. So I'm afraid of this thing. But let's reframe that. And let's start to think about it instead as possibility. Okay. The possibilities are open. The possibilities are endless. This has never happened before. And because of that, it means that the possibilities start to open and you have the ability to move forward in your life. And so, what I would tell them, really tangibly you can do to apply this perceptual positions is you could practice within yourself. Practice. How am I viewing this? Okay. What is that like to be within myself and to view it from my perspective? And then you may pick another person, maybe a person who's a little bit calmer, and then to float into their experience of it. And what's it like to step into their experience? How are they viewing it? Right. And then you may just say, well, if I were to be the observer here of myself and the other person, what would that look like? So I'm telling you, just do this for yourself actually as an exercise to move between the different positions and then get a sense of what is it like really to become within the intermingling of all of it, within that presence of awareness that is always there for you to step into. What's it like to notice that connection? And you know what? That's going to focus you on so much better. It's going to be a lot healthier for you. Okay. It's going to focus you on so much more stuff than, what the news and social media wants you to focus on, which is just, oh my gosh, it's like I'm subscribed to on Facebook because I want to know the news, like some of these like different things. And they're always posting like, I'm sad to report there's been one more death. I'm sad to report that we have this many more cases. And it's like, we knew that was gonna, like, this is not news. This is not news at all. They're literally just hyping up people to have explanation for their agenda, which, hey, you know what? Probably at some level that has to happen, but you yourself can be able to shift that and to become calm with it within yourself. What I would say, in terms of rapport, since we're getting into some, kind of core techniques within that, one big aspect of rapport is matching and mirroring, pacing and leading. And so what I always tell people to start with rapport are pacing statements. Pacing statements are acknowledging what is true. Now, it's not just acknowledging what is true to you, because that person may not, agree. I may look here at, Dan's jacket and go, Dan, that's a wonderful, blue color there that you have there. And he might look at it and go, no, it's, blue, green, or I don't know, whatever. Maybe the camera plays tricks with the lighting. And so if I
This is orange, Taylor, orange.
It's orange. Yeah. Hey, oh man. Yeah. So it's like we can do that, but instead acknowledging things for themselves that they know are true. Okay. That they know are, within themselves. And you see, my best tip for this, by the way, if you want to learn how to persuasively communicate and you want to learn how to do pacing, look at politicians. Not necessarily when they're hyping you up, but when they're trying to calm people down. How is it that they do that? Okay, I've been studying politicians and been analyzing them and breaking them down now for about 2 years. I've been doing a project where we've been doing that. And I can tell you, this is what they do. This is what they do to gain rapport. They say things that they know their audience is going to acknowledge and feel are true. So they'll say things like, if I were talking, to a business owner, I might say something like, well, right now that this is a period of, a tumultuous period, for business. You probably have felt, that you're looking to start to shift things, within your business. Maybe that you are starting to look at how you can pivot and this, that.
And then lead. So tell us, what is lead? So that's pace.
So that's pacing, which is matching. Now, and then leading is, well, here's where I want for them to go. It's something that is plausible that we want for them to now step into. So for example, a good language device here, a good language pattern is the I know, but I also know pattern. So I could say something like, I know times have been tough, but I also know that there is a toughness inside of you, a resilience inside of you that's going to help you to succeed. Okay. I know that maybe people aren't calling you as much as they used to, but I also know that this means that you have now an opportunity to succeed in ways that you haven't been able to succeed before. So it's the I know, but I also know that pattern.
And the I know is the pace. That's what you know to be true.
Yeah. What
And I
they know to
also
be
know
true.
it
What they
was,
know to be
yes,
true.
thank you. What they know to be true. And then I also know which is what you intend for them to go,
Yep.
which is to have that resilience, that persistence, or whatever it is that you're intending to communicate.
Right. And if we have a specific context, obviously, like we can just tailor it. I'm just giving you some, general ideas here in terms of how that works.
Thank you very much. Last question. Are there any resources online or what books would you recommend?
Any books?
There's a
Or
question
books, sorry.
online.
Say again?
No, I was telling Taylor there's a question online. People are asking
I see.
that they can go to resources online.
Are there any resources online that I can use? Well, you know what? There's so many different meditation apps, that are out there. There's an app that I'm involved with. You can check out. That's called Sparkify. You can check that one out as well. Books in terms of that we would recommend. It depends on what you're looking to actually do with it. I mean, if you're looking to have books to calm yourself, well, I think that's one
I
type of
think they're
book.
referring to NLP.
Oh, NLP books?
Yes.
There's a lot of different NLP books out there. I would say that when you come and do learning NLP doesn't work that well learning it from a book, because you can read books and you can learn about it and you can get the information, but that's not what really makes this stuff work. What makes it work is the attitude. Okay. It's the attitude that you need to get. And that's the type of thing that you can get through, trainings, through being able to do that. So there's many
So I know
books
that
out
you
there.
have trainings, UNRE.
Yeah.
Tell us about those. So that could be a great resource for our viewers.
Sure. So we have trainings that are hypnosis trainings, and then we have trainings that are NLP trainings, and different types of people come to each one, but we really recommend that people do both of them. And the reason why is because hypnosis is a wonderful tool for helping to make changes within a person's life, but it's also about your being able to start making changes. It's also about you starting to transform or change something within yourself. And the basic idea is, when in a normal state of being, when we hear information, it goes up against a block. We call that block the critical faculty. It's kind of the gatekeeper, the door guard to the mind. It goes up against a block. It can't move, forward from that. Within a state of hypnosis, we're able to bypass that. We're able to let that go. A person is able to once again access their inner resources that have been there. So that's a wonderful, training to take. The other training that we do is an NLP training. And NLP, it's really multiple things, right? It's NLP, but it's also everything that NLP has done recently. So there's a lot of things, this is why I'm kind of hesitant to recommend books and stuff, because most information about NLP, frankly, out there stopped in the 1970s, 1980s. Like, there isn't, there's a lot when you talk about NLP, people are talking about what was done back then. Okay. But actually, we continue to update and continue to apply, like, all of the neuroscience that's come out in the last 20 years is absolutely huge, and it completely changes a lot of the ideas. And so people who take it, you may wish to, for example, it may be about So a couple of different groups, it could be someone who, let's say, is a therapist and they're looking to, be able to learn some techniques because NLP largely didn't model therapists in the beginning. But it could also be a person who wants to learn how to communicate better. And that could be, communicating more persuasively, being able to develop and maintain those levels of rapport. But also, I keep going back to that deep level of inner transformation that they get going through the training. And, that is so huge because they will, you go through a training like this and you will learn quite a bit. It is experiential. It's not, book learning, right? There is some stuff in which you need to learn, but it's, deeply through experience. Okay. Right, Dan?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then it's
Absolutely.
like, okay, being able to step into that and, then being able to have great tools that you can do with others. It's also like people who do any sort of coaching or managing. Okay. So if they are coaching someone, and that could be like as a formal coach, like, okay, I'm a coach, this is what I do, or an executive coach or someone like this, but it could also just be a manager. It's like, there's something in which I sometimes teach, which is talking about leaders that are actually coaching. And so someone who is in any sort of leadership role, they need to know how to coach, because if they don't know how to coach, they're losing a huge amount of, ability to connect and lead people.
You're just going to get what you're going to get.
Yeah.
So it's about getting the very best out of others and having them achieve their greatness within them when you're leading.
Yes.
So thank you both, Irit and Taylor, for joining me today. How can we get in touch with you? If I want to learn more, if I want to study hypnosis, study NLP, and I want to get in touch with you, how do I do that?
So you would call the number 301-717-1207, or you can send us an email at hypnosiswashingtondc.com. Okay. Or they can contact you and you can, do what you've been doing the past couple of years and send us the referrals.
So let's just repeat it.
301-717-1207 or info@hypnosiswashingtondc.com.
And then, the last part of that is just the website. So hypnosiswashingtondc.com.
In final thoughts, I will be a testimony for the two of you. You have changed my life. You have changed my ability on how I can be able to perceive my meaning in life, to understand that I'm worthy to achieve my goals, and for me to understand that I can become more than who I've been in the past. And thank you very much for that.
Well, I need to thank you too. Thank you for catching me on my Yes Week.
All right, we got you Yes Week.
Yes, now I'm online, and thank you, Taylor. It was great.
All right, bye guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Give us a thumbs up by clicking the like button below. Don't forget to subscribe to Get Rock Solid Coaching channel and stay ahead of the game.